Hi there, welcome to my No BS gear review channel. Tonight we're going to find out if the word budget in front of the knife's name means cheap. Using this knife. This is Ganzo Firebird. Ganzo is a parent company, Firebird is their knife line, and the model is F3. Some call it rat killer, others call it bug out killer. And today we're going to find out if this $22 piece of gear is a buzz killer or actually a killer knife. Starting with the action that is on bearings and slightly more anemic than I expected, more on par with the actual bug out than with, let's say, Kube or Sencut. For my medium to large glove wearing hands, the ergos are spot on. And that's because they copied it almost exactly from one of the most popular EDC knives, Ontario Rat 2. Almost the same ergonomics. As you can see, the handle is a little bit wider and the cutout for the finger is a little less pronounced than Rat 2. And it's more akin to Rat 1.5, a recent release that I reviewed on my channel, an excellent knife. And definitely a lot smaller than the Rat 1. Now, for years I've been saying that Rat family of knives has all the features that EDC knife needs to have and none that it doesn't. Except in the last couple years I realized that having a finger-safe lock like this crossbar lock here is actually a good idea because it reduces the number of scars on your fingers. So I am going to say that now this is a knife that has every feature an EDC knife needs and none that it doesn't. I may sound biased to you from the get-go, but what you're about to see is a series of tests designed to eliminate the bias and to produce an EDC score that will make it easier to compare this knife with others. And the weight is 2.86 ounces or 80 grams, 3-inch or 76 millimeters blade length, which, thanks to this long pronounced belly, giving us 3 3/16 or 82 millimeters total cutting edge. Another important parameter, at least to me, is how much of a usable edge length I have for cutting on a cutting board. I am lowering the blade until my knuckle hits the cutting board. Unfortunately, I'm only getting 1 1/4 inch or 32 millimeters of the cutting edge before my knuckle hits the wooden surface. Okay, this is not a chef's knife. Duh, it's a pocket knife. And for a pocket knife, a critical parameter is how well it goes in and out of your pocket. And for many, having difficulties in doing it with one hand without bending the clip out of the way or finagling with a knife makes a difference whether the knife stays in the pocket or in the drawer in your tool room. And since most people who would carry a knife like this wear jeans and not sweatpants or pinstripe suit, my pocket emulator is made out of 1/8 of an inch thick webbing belt, which happens to be an average thickness of a jean pocket seam. In my experimentations, I found that 1 to 4 pound effort is acceptable to insert and extract the knife in and from the pocket. And this knife is just a little bit more, pinchy than I like. Let's do it again and see. Goes in rather easy, 3.3 pounds. And to pull it out, you will need just over 4 pounds, between 4 and 5.5 pounds. That is acceptable, but the point gets taken away. Retention at this force should be pretty good. I cannot shake it loose out of the pocket. That is not the case with every knife that I've tested to date. And now we're going to look at how snappy is the action. If you personally don't care about that, many, almost all the EDC enthusiasts do care about this, because a snappy knife gives you a feeling of a more premium tool, while the sluggish action makes even a premium knife feel cheap. Anything between 1.2 and 4.5 pounds is acceptable, So let's move on to the Hype Smasher to see if this baby holds up to the dreaded spine whack. The knife is clamped in this device, which is constructed out of wooden blocks and steel rods covered in rubber hose, emulating a human hand pretty well, in my non-medical opinion. And the Hype Smasher is a modified arbor press equipped with a 2.5-pound rod, which accelerates for the distance of 6 inches to smack this blade on the spine. And as you could see, the knife held up after the first strike, and the lock was still functional. Let's go for another one. And a lock check again. Still holding. Some of my viewers are struggling with the definition of durability testing, and what I say is this is a lock. A lock's supposed to stay locked until you choose to unlock it. And this one definitely stayed locked. Time to unclamp the knife and inspect it for function and possible damage. Let's see here. Still opens and closes. And I detect no side-to-side or up and down play. The action is still pretty snappy on opening and just a hair sluggish on closing, just as it was out the box. Nope, no play. Good to go. Time to examine the edge under the microscope, starting with the tip, which is well formed. The knife shows evidence of being stropped. They use pretty fine media, I would estimate 400 to 600 grit, to form the edge, and then they stropped it just the right amount. The width of the secondary bevel, what we call edge, varies, getting wider and then narrower toward the sharpening choil. This to me is evidence of maybe slightly worn out belt when they were sharpening it. And another reason to repeat what I always say, I always replace a factory edge with my own edge whenever I plan to carry the knife. As you can see, it's the same picture on this side. The tip does look a little goofy from this angle. The sharpening choil deserves some criticism here because the plunge from the primary grind intersects with the sharpening choil, so either the plunge line should be farther back or the choil should be farther forward. Let's see if the lock got damaged at all during the spine whack on the Hype Smasher. I don't see anything that would indicate that it was damaged. Everything functions as it's supposed to. Here's a little bit of light. No dents or scratches on the engagement surface, indicating that the steel is probably pretty hard. Let's test this theory. The calibration block for my Leeb tester is certified at 787 points on Leeb scale, or HL. And the reason I prefer to calibrate on that scale is because it has a much higher resolution than Rockwell scale. One Leeb point equals 0.07, less than 1/10 of the Rockwell point. So I can get a very fine calibration here. 786 is what I got. 1 point, I'm not going to worry about it for the duration of the test. I apply incompressible gel to the surface of the test block that ensures that any air pocket that may exist between it and the blade is taken up by this incompressible fluid. Otherwise, my results would be on the lower side. There's a lot of debate whether or not Leeb tests are acceptable for knife testing. Are they accurate? They are accurate, more so than the Rockwell machines. There is a guideline for using them. It's called ASTM A956, paragraph 7.2. Tells you exactly how to test a thinner metal using a solid flat block. I got 59 HRC average hardness on this side of the blade, and this Ganzo is equipped with a 440C steel blade, which was invented in 1935, making it the oldest stainless blade steel, at least in the US. And did you know that such popular steels as 45 or MagnaCut are derived from a 440? Let's test the other side before we celebrate. Where was I on the Leeb versus Rockwell? The reason industry does not use Leeb testers in knife production is because you're usually testing a sample of 10, 15, 20 blades. And as you can see, using Leeb is a tedious process. It relies on calculating averages between several strikes. They simply don't have that kind of time on their hand. 57.7 on this side. 58.4 HRC, which for this steel is a perfect balance between edge retention and toughness. And speaking of toughness, let's test that theory. In this test, the tip of the knife is rigidly clamped in this hardwood oak clamp, and I'm bending it 15 degrees before releasing it to see if the tip will break off or become permanently deformed. I repeated 3 times, and this is a test I borrowed from military specifications for USMC fighting utility knife, also known as K-bar. Except there they bend it to 9 degrees. This is a twist test where I exert as much torque on the knife's handle as my strength and the handle's geometry allow, and that puts an immense amount of stress and strain on the internal components such as bearings, pins, and spacers. Let's see for deformation. Do we have a slight bend there? Let's flip it over. I'm struggling because the lens here is wide angle, so sometimes it's hard to see. What do we have here? Is there a bend? Yes, I have a slight deformation here. This is clear as day. The function is still good. There's no play side to side or up and down. So other than a small deformation, which is not a good thing, the knife survived my torture tests. Now it's time to test the edge retention. And for that I'm using loops made out of fishing line that I purchased at Walmart. It's a 4-pound fishing line. The reason I use fishing line is because it's rated for breaking strength and elongation. So I bet you it's not that different from BESS filaments, which are also made out of nylon line. Don't believe me? BESS filament is coming to the channel soon. My method varies from the BESS machine method in the sense that I'm using direct pull and measuring the forces with this 50 Newton gauge. The scale is set in grams right now on your screen. And what I will do is I'll take average of a few pulls and then torture the edge with this buckhorn or antler, which, due to its composition, that it has a lot of mineral content, is a perfect media for testing edge retention, wear resistance, and strain resistance. As you can probably guess, the knife industry is not forthcoming with sending me knives for reviews. So I can't really afford to buy every knife out there that's worthy of a review. What would really help me out is if you donated to the channel using the super thanks. It's a little button there on your screen. Those couple of dollars will go a long way in investing in a new test equipment and new blades to test. And everyone in the community would appreciate your helping my channel. Back to testing. So the apex was subjected to 10 back and forth or 20 cuts with this antler. And now I'm measuring the cutting force again. I will then take the ratio between before and after and will tell you the percentage of decrease in sharpness. I notice that the slower I go, the more consistent my readings are. But in this case, I don't track outliers because I simply don't know if it's a fluke or does the line hit some kind of damaged spot on the blade. I will examine the blade under the microscope after this, and that will tell the rest of the story. And the sharpness decrease of 61% gives this knife exactly 0 points in edge retention. So this video is not over, don't go anywhere. It turned out to be a little shorter than usual because this knife yielded no surprises whatsoever. And that gives me a chance to talk about sponsoring, self-sponsoring my channel. You see, a while ago, a clothing company called Bearskin Tactical offered me free merch so that I can review it on my channel, and they were offering me a sponsorship. Since I don't sell knives, I jumped at the chance. When they watched my review, which was honest and no BS, they canceled our collaboration. But that led me to discover a brand which I think is a lot cooler, better in function and quality, and also much more available than the Bearskin Tactical. It's called TacVasen. This is what I'm wearing now. It's a new sort of garment for me. I just got it in the mail. It's basically a tactical pullover shirt with a zipper and Velcro and pockets. Check it out. I'll throw links to the merch that this company sells. Unlike Bearskin Tactical, you don't have to wait 8 weeks to get it, and the prices are about 1/3 of those other guys. Sorry about this interlude. Just trying to raise money for better equipment. So to make it worth your time, I'm going to use my fishing line here, and then I made some loops out of the BESS filament. Let's see here. All right, let's not judge it yet, but the first pull, it came right in the middle between the factory edge and the damaged edge. So we regained about 30% sharpness just by stropping. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're not a subscriber already, and hit notification bell. Okay, a little worse on this pull. Probably hit one of those areas where I did not remove all the burr or chips, whatever it was, rolls. Yeah. All right, so I'll calculate the average in a second here. And here's the BESS loopies that I spent quite a bit of time rolling, putting together. By the way, you can also help my channel by copying the link to this video and then sending it to your social media network. Actually, you don't even have to send it because YouTube algorithm only knows that you copied it. All right, let's see here. All right, in the same ballpark. So I've been trying to figure out what exactly BESS selling you as a certified filament. I paid $25 plus shipping for this little bitty spool of filament, and that's like the most expensive fishing line I ever bought. Clearly, I'm in the wrong business. Well, it's certified. So it looks like the breaking strength is a little higher on it, but we're kind of in the same ballpark. So I will continue to experiment with it and figuring out what is exactly they're perpetrating on us at BESS. Just another area of the industry I wouldn't mind alienating for your benefit. Being sarcastic, but barely. You know, I think there may be 2 letters too many in this abbreviation. Are you surprised this knife scored that high? 17.1 is a decent score. I anticipate a lot of comments about the fact that 440C is a very basic steel. It is a simple steel, but in this case it's well treated. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Would you rather have a knife in 440C at 58 to 59 HRC, or a premium brand knife with a MagnaCut blade at 58 to 59 HRC?